What's up, gamers? Welcome to Battle Mallet Podcast episode 74, XED, Embergard Downloads Review. For anyone that isn't familiar, the Battle Mallet Podcast is the journey of three busy gamers playing games that they love and balancing life with those games. In tonight's episode, we are going to cover the slew of downloadable resources that were released recently on the Warhammer community page. That includes 13 warbands, some organized play documents, tournament packs, and then surprise Grand Alliances pack that includes everything that isn't going to be organized play legal or hasn't been released yet. That sounds complicated. Anyway, my name is Jared Johnson. I am your host for this evening. Tonight, I am joined by Trace Al Capone Hyde.
Feeling mighty evasive.
And Jason Table Noob Murray.
I have no idea what you said in the intro because I was reading something else.
Nice. Good podcasting right here.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so like I said in tonight's episode, we are going to try to get through as many of the warbands that are available free for download as we can. We are going to go through more detail, the 13 that are legal for organized play. We will spend a little bit of time talking about the warbands of the Grand Alliances. And I think that's it. Are we going to talk about the organized play stuff? I don't know.
Maybe we'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll see. If not, then I will probably jump in with a ghost editor's note like right now. Anyway, because of all of the content that we have to cover, we are not going to play catch up. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we will talk about the 13 downloadable warbands.
And we're back and ready to talk about some free downloads for our newest edition of Warhammer Underworlds. Super stoked to be able to talk about these free updates to our favorite game. And there's some good ones in there. I have to admit, I'm liking the flavor that's coming through.
So some of them are hot sauce for sure.
Yeah, some of them are hot sauce, mayonnaise, mustard, who knows? All the condiments are right here in this part of the episode. So again, I know Jared went over it in the intro, but we will go through these all 13 of them, plus the Grand Alliance ones, not in depth. We'll hit on like kind of key points, but there are three that kind of stand out that we are really looking forward to playing. And what does that mean? Does it mean that these are the best three? No, these are just three warbands that we're really looking to take a spin with in version 2.0. So to start, Trace, what is your warband that you are looking most forward to playing in 2.0?
The one that I am actually looking forward to very much is the Thricefold Discord. And that's not because, like Jason said, that's not because I feel like that they're going to be world beaters in any kind of way. I just find that they managed to get some of their flavor from the previous decks into this War Scroll, and I just think it's pretty nifty. There's also some new abilities that they kind of got baked in that are pretty cool. So yeah, that's the first one. And I mean, you guys want to I can just go ahead and start through with what I think is one of the coolest parts.
Why are you looking forward to playing them?
So my biggest thing is they've added some passive abilities for them that I think are going to make them pretty spicy. Both evasive, which says immediately before damage is inflicted on an evasive fighter, you may roll one attack die on a hammer or a crit, subtract one from that damage inflicted. So it basically gives you an opportunity to reduce damage each time you take damage, which for these kind of squishy fighters is a big deal. But they're not as squishy as they used to be, which we will get to in a moment. And then also Indolent, which is just for Vexmore, which is the tubby leader with his spear. Vexmore's weapons have +1 attack dice and Grievous if that fighter has no move or charge tokens. What are the things that we talk about the most on this podcast that we think are very powerful?
Unicorns?
Yes, those. But now I guess we'll just call it Grievous, right? The +1 damage upgrade was always a big deal for us.
That's not what I'm talking about.
He's talking about the pushes.
There you go.
Oh,
now you're cooking.
okay.
So you're just going to push Vexmore around as much as you can and not actually move him and get a +1 dice and Grievous on all of his attacks, which is super sweet.
I like it.
Especially since he retained his 2 range. And on his inspired side, he actually gets to 2 hammers too. So he's pretty good. So
the call out on invasive is it's just for the other 2.
Correct.
For Vashtis and
yep. So the 2 lithe members of the team, they actually get some nice built-in resilience, and they're both 4 wounds now, which is sweet.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so those are the 2 big passive things that I thought was cool. And then also Lashavir's passive ability that he gets, he, she, they, them get, is immediate. It's called Wicked Slice. Immediately after an attack action or attack made by this fighter, pick an enemy fighter that is not vulnerable within 2 hexes of that fighter. Inflict 1 damage to that enemy fighter. So you're getting some spillover damage from Lashavir, which is super cool. And then we'll just move on through all the different War Scroll abilities since we're just going to do that. Eldritch Enmity, which is once per game, you can use this ability in a power step. Instead of playing a card, pick 2 friendly fighters, push each fighter up to 1 hex. After each push, both fighters must be further from one another. So you see my previous comment about Indolent and how that can interact with this ability. You can just push Vexmore 1 fighter close to somebody else that's an enemy. Just make sure he's farther away from one of his friends, which is a 3-fighter warband. That's not going to be super, super hard to do. And then the next one is Feuding. Once per game, you can use this ability immediately after an action step. Pick 1 inspired fighter and 1 uninspired friendly fighter. Uninspire the inspired fighter and then inspire the other fighter. So you can do some bouncing of your inspiration around, which I think is going to be really nice and has a lot of good utility. And then the last one is Vile Temptations. Once per game in your action step, you can pick an enemy fighter and pick one of their equipped upgrades. That upgrade is discarded. Then equip that fighter with an upgrade from your hand whose cost is equal to or less than the discarded upgrade. So this is a free Great Strength or a free Great Fortitude. That's how I'm looking at it anyway.
Yeah, but it's on. You're going to do it to an enemy fighter.
Correct. You take it off of them. Like you take a 2 glory upgrade off of them, right?
Oh, yeah,
and then you equip your own Great Strength or own Great Fortitude. It's 0 cost. See our conversation about Great Speed.
I think you still give I think you're giving your upgrade. You can pick an enemy fighter.
Yeah.
Then equip that fighter with an upgrade from your hand. So you give them one of your upgrades.
you give them your upgrade.
Yeah. But you could replace a Great Strength with a Great
something
Speed
else that costs less, right? Yeah. I misread that.
Or
that's on me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as powerful. No, it still works for grade 4. If they have like multiple additional wound upgrades on them, you can throw something on them and could take them out of action. It's really cool because, in version 1, they had cards that would do this. Now it's just an ability that they can do.
Yeah.
I love it. Did they classify what type of warband this was? Is it a strike? Is it a take and hold? Like, did they do that for these downloads?
I think they did that in the article. Maybe.
Yep. We might have to look that up in a minute.
I'll work on that. And just to kind of go over the fighter cards really quick, and I can look for that after we discuss this. But
I've got it up.
Okay.
Thricefold Discord is qualified as a mastery, which makes sense given kind of the weird abilities that they've got going on.
Yep. So just to kind of go over the fighter cards really quick, the only thing that's really changed about them is that some of the dodges are a little bit different on the uninspired side. I think that the Lashavir used to have two when they were uninspired. and now they have 1 uninspired, and they go to 2 inspired, but they gained a wound. Vexmore is still 5 wounds. He does not. He doesn't gain anything on his inspired side other than an additional hammer. And then I think that the only other difference that's it for them. The only thing that's different for Vashtis is that she goes to range 2 and gains a dodge. She still flies though, so there's the fly rune mark on there.
Yeah. So I mean, what's cool is that I think the evasive ones, especially uninspired, are going to be easier to hit because they're on a single dodge, but they have that evasive roll. So there's a good chance that they're going to be reducing a 3 damage swing. But there's a 50, it's 50-50. Half the time they're going to reduce the damage by 1.
That's right.
I think this warband is going to be more survivable than their initial characteristics would ally. And then just at the onset, they look like good fighters.
Yeah. I mean, they've got solid stats across the board.
Yep.
Like at least 4 wounds for all 3 of them is in line with most 3 fighter warbands, which is awesome.
Yep.
And then, you have some varied range bands. You have a range 1, you have 2 range 2s, and you have a range 3 or range 4, depending on whether or not Vashtis is inspired. So you have ways to manipulate different parts of the board. You can get in people's faces and stuff like that. So like, there's just all kinds of, I just think I understand why they labeled them a mastery warband, because there's a lot of different utility pieces that you have to put into place and use leverage for those. But I'm excited to use them. Plus, I really like the way that I painted them. So
fair enough.
That's one of the reasons why I'm excited to use them, because I thought that they were one of my better painted warbands from the previous edition. So,
excuse me. I think that, I know they're labeled mastery, but I think the strike would be the way I would play. I don't know if I would go take and hold with 3 fighters.
No, that is definitely going to align with how I want to play them, which is either having some, if whatever kind of ping we have out there, plus we have, our aggressive decks that are coming out. So, I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities to play them in multiple ways, which is going to be cool.
Yeah. Well, awesome. What I really like out of all of it is, to me, that a lot of the flavor of the warband is fully captured.
Yeah. It's the spiteful nature of them, how they, especially the inspire condition I thought was really cool, where you can take an inspire away from another. And then the actual inspire condition itself is immediately after making an attack or save roll that contains no successes. After a friendly fighter is slain, inspire another friendly fighter, or after a friendly fighter is slain. So
it'll be easier for you to play, Jason.
It's that's what I think is cool about that, is that there's no longer the number of times that not just Jason, I messed it up a couple times, where you're like, wait, who inspires who when they fail type deal. Yeah. So now it doesn't matter. You just inspire who you want if you fail. So there's a lot more flexibility with it, which I think will make them play faster, which is good. I do miss the temptations, though. I think the temptations as a mechanic on the cards will be kind of missed. But for what we have, I think that they've captured a large portion of the essence of the warband, which I'm excited about.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you get them out on the table here soon.
Yep.
Jared, let's move to you. What is the one warband out of these that you're most looking forward to playing?
That's going to be Daggok Stablads. I mean, it doesn't hurt that Trace did an amazing job painting them. But I really liked them when they initially launched, and they came out a little lackluster on the tabletop. Played them to some minor success. But looking at them now, they feel like, like in this new edition, they feel like a decent 4-fighter warband. Rocking that 4x4 wound.
That's where you like to live, man.
It is one of my favorites. So anyway, so they inspire immediately after inflicting damage on an enemy fighter using the Cruel Stab ability. So they don't have mixed inspire conditions anymore. 1 inspire. But what is Cruel Stab? Well, that's a great question. This is a surge ability that you can use. A friendly fighter with no charge tokens can use this immediately after your action step. So any fighter after any of my action steps, pick an enemy fighter that is not vulnerable, that is adjacent to that friendly fighter, and roll an attack dice on a hammer or crit. Inflict 1 damage on that enemy fighter. So I think it's taking into account some of the previous pings that they had available. I'm trying not to belabor old versus new as much. But the idea of being able to get out of action step damage through half the time seems pretty good. It's going to be tricky to get them into a position where you can use this ability. So I don't imagine being able to inspire them all that often. But based on their characteristics, that doesn't look like it's going to be super duper necessary. They're all fairly accurate, uninspired, hitting for 2 smash or for 3 swords, which is roughly equivalent. Jags has got crit Grievous, both inspired and uninspired, which means that he could spike to 3 damage inspired, which is pretty nice. Dagot gets way more accurate. He goes from 2 hammers to 3 hammers. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that part. And then they've got their, War Scroll abilities. 2 against 1, you get. This is a surge ability. Use this immediately after your action step. You can push your friendly fighter 1 hex. You can only use this ability once per game. So you get a free sidestep after your own action step, which is nice. Thief of Cunning. Use this in a power step. Draw a number of cards equal to the number of damaged enemy fighters. You can only use this ability once per game. So this will be really good. I'm imagining, into turn 2, where you've got, 2 or 3 damaged enemy fighters or more, depending on what you're playing. So, that's 2 or 3 cards that you get to draw. They've also got the Nasty Poisons Surge ability. Use this immediately after an action step. Roll a dice for each damaged enemy fighter. On a roll of a crit, inflict 1 damage on that fighter. You can only use this ability once per game. And the caveat that this ability does not have, that we have seen on other abilities of its kind, where you get to do damage outside of an action step, is this does not have the restricted to non-vulnerable fighters restriction. So
still on a crit, though.
It's on a crit. So it's a 1 in 6 chance. So and you can only do it on damaged enemy fighters. So
still an opportunity for free damage, which is never bad.
It is. Yep. And then they've got this Scheme and Gets ability.
This is spicy.
Rule. Yeah. So instead of playing a ploy in your opponent's power step, so in the power step leading to your turn, you can discard ploys to use the abilities below. The number of ploys you discard determines which abilities apply in the next turn. The effects are cumulative, and the effect of each ability lasts until the end of your next turn. So if you discard 1 ploy, you get +1 move. If you discard 2, enemy fighters are flanked, so increasing the accuracy there. If you discard 3, then friendly fighters' weapons have +1 attack dice. So you get to move further, better innate accuracy, and then even better innate accuracy because you've added dice to that. And then I'm just flipping through this. You could play this after your opponent's last power step, and then you could get that. Oh, you probably wouldn't want to do that because you don't know who's going to go first, because the abilities apply in the next turn. So,
right.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, I would. I don't know that I would do that bridging a gap. I think I would do.
Yeah.
I think I would do that leading into like your last activation, or
or
depending on when it's most usable.
Yeah.
But discarding 3, like I look at this, I look at this as it's an anytime you want +1 move. It's an anytime you want +1 move and flank, or an anytime you want +1 move for charging up really far away with a range 2 fighter. They're all range 1 now.
And it's going to depend on the ploys that you have on hand.
Correct.
A lot of these effects are going to be accomplished by ploys, but
these are all better
effects. Yeah.
These are all better than a lot of the ploys you might want to play.
Yep.
So, and the fact that there's not a limit on it is really, really good.
Yeah. I can do it as many times as I want until I run out of cards.
But
Yeah, so that like, do you actually build a deck that has more ploys in it?
So that's a conversation I think that we need to have at some point anyway, about with all of the card draw, about
the size of a deck.
do we start running 22, 24 card decks again? But anyway,
we can
talk
about that one. We can talk about that one building a deck.
I think if you're running stab lads, though, like, I don't see any problem with running 24, 25, 26 cards.
Yeah, with between 0 cost upgrades and card draw and stuff.
I don't know if I would go 26, but I might go 22 to 24, like, just because you could put the zeros in there.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you think about it this way, right? Like, you put a 0 move upgrade on a fighter, and then you discard a ploy that's in your hand that you're like, I don't really care. Now you're +2 move.
Yeah.
Like, for no glory spent. And you're like, well, some of these other ones are kind of crappy anyway. Let me just go ahead and discard all 3, and I can charge all the way across the board. Like,
yeah.
It's gross.
With increased accuracy and
right,
extra dice and all sorts of fun stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, I think that I love the Warband. I think the fighters look cool. And then Trace's paint job just took it right over the top for me. Like, I love having them on the table. They just didn't quite land as well as I would have liked for them in the first edition. But I like where they're looking here in the second edition.
Yeah, and I do think that the mastery classification for them is the right one. Like, you're going to have to definitely leverage ploys and positioning to get the most out of them.
Well, and the fact that we're having a conversation about do you put more cards in your deck just because of this, like, indicates that they're definitely a mastery.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that they fall outside of the stand on stuff to be successful, and the
or just hit stuff to be successful,
attack stuff to be successful category.
It requires some finesse to get them to do either of those things, which is awesome.
Yep.
Well, then that leads me to mine, which shocker.
Shocking.
I am also picking a Mastery Warband, and I am excited to play Brethren of the Bolt. And the main reason is because I have yet to put Brethren of the Bolt on the table. And when version 2.0 was announced, I was like, oh, well, I have a painted warband that I'll never see the light of day. But here it is. And I think they're going to be really solid because this warband starts out inspired, which is the first time we've seen that in version 2. And because they are inspired, a lot of them start with 2 damage. So I really like them. Oh, wait, all of them start with 2 damage. Yeah. Some really cool things here is they continue this whole inspire, uninspire as they attack, or inspire if they're attacked through. So the inspire, each friendly fighter starts the game inspired immediately after an attack action step in which a friendly fighter was a conducting fighter, inspire that fighter. And then the uninspire immediately after a friendly fighter's successful attack, uninspire that. Oh my goodness, uninspire that friendly fighter. So if they hit, the charge is gone, they uninspire, and if you shoot through them, you can re-inspire them. So Holy Capacitor. Subtract 1 from the distance between a friendly attack and their target for each friendly fighter between the attacker and the target those friendly fighters are conducting. So if I have range 1 and then I go through 2 friendly hexes, I add those so that attack actually becomes range 3, and I can hit somebody over there. But the cool thing is you're subtracting distance. So all the upgrades that say range 1, range 2, or a melee upgrade still apply to these attacks. Mwahaha.
Yeah, it doesn't say +1.
Yeah, it's subtracting the distance. And then they also have a surge ability, this fulminating hymn. Pick one of the following abilities at the start of the combat phase. While there are 2 or more friendly fighters, each fighter can use that ability. There's a charge aura. Friendly fighters cannot be flanked. Reckless Abandon. Each time a friendly fighter would be given a charge token, you can inflict 1 damage on that fighter instead of giving them a charge token. That's spicy. Yeah. Double charging. I'm taking damage, but I could double charge. And then Faithful Dynamos. Friendly fighters' weapons have a stagger. And that actually is one of my favorite ones. Because once I become uninspired, I could really use that stagger.
Yeah. Getting those rerolls when you're uninspired is going to be nice.
And then they have some one-use abilities. Crackling Burst. Use this in a power step. Pick a friendly fighter. That fighter moves. You can only use this ability once per game. Setting up additional supports or the Holy Capacitor. Very, very powerful movement there. Heavenly Charge. Use this immediately after your action step. Pick a friendly fighter. Uninspire that fighter. Then inflict 1 damage to an adjacent enemy fighter. You can only use this ability once per game. Ping damage for free.
Yeah. And blocked. Again, no restriction, right? It doesn't have the vulnerable restriction.
And then I'd have no
Coruscating.
Yeah, there you go. That
Coruscating Revival.
Use this immediately after action step. Pick a friendly fighter that was conducting during that step. Heal that fighter. You can only use this ability once per game, so you can heal somebody a single damage if they are conducting. So a lot of tools in the toolbox with this warband. And they hit pretty well. Again, once they're uninspired, it's really falls to Galvik, who can still kind of swing and do damage. But everybody else, when they are inspired, hits really well. Whether that's 3 swords, 2 hammers, 3 hammers. Again, most of them are ranged 1, but the leader has a range 3, and Arcus has a range 2. So a lot of cool stuff.
I like that Paterphilius is 5 wounds, 5 health.
And only 2 glory.
Yeah. Yeah. But
bounty.
He's bounty, that's right. He's a dude on another dude.
He is a dude on another dude, so it's a 3 and a 2, which
it
adds up.
Yep. Yeah, it adds up to the other ones.
That math's mathin'.
That math is mathin'. Yep, I like it. Well, cool.
This was my runner-up, Jason. This one and the other were the 2.
I liked playing this warband in the previous edition.
They're a fun warband to play.
I'm excited for you to get them on the table.
Yeah, I am ecstatic that I got free downloads that can allow me to use these going into version 2.0.
But Dishu.
So those are the 3 warbands that we're most excited to get on the tabletop in the new edition. From there, we'll just kind of go down the line and talk about the other revamped warbands. All of these warbands were recently released over the last year or so. So it is nice that we have rules to use the minis. And we're going to start with one that I'm not very happy with. Are you ready?
I know who this is.
Zendire's Gravebreakers.
Oh,
so
sad.
The reason that I am sad, and pause for dramatic effect, I'm going to say something that's not positive. I just think that out of all the warbands that we've seen new rules for, this is the one that lost the most to me, and I loved this warband in version 1. So
yeah.
I can relate with other people that are out there going the War Scroll cards or this change. This one definitely is not as flavorful as it was, but there's still some stuff in there, and there's still really, really cool models. So does anybody have a top ability for this warband that they're excited to see?
I mean, I think we have to call out the fact that they still can grave break, so that they can exhume or unearth. It's not the same, but when you delve So now you get to delve a feature token, and as long as the leader is alive, then you can exhume, which lets you raise one of your slain friendly minions. Or you can always unearth whether the leader is alive or not, and that's draw a number of power cards equal to the number of slain friendly fighters. So, like if you lose Zandara, well then every time you delve, you get to draw a card, and then as you start losing more, you can't bring them back. So every time you delve, you can draw more cards.
I think the thing that I like about the War Scroll card the most, and I know that this is not like one specific ability, but it's the fact that like you can do those things as many times as you want. Like they're not like once per game uses like a lot of the other fighter cards. Like you only have your Undying Love, which is a single game use ability. Everything else is kind of like reusable, even though you're unearthing and doing all. I mean, it's limited, but it's still as many times as you want, which is good.
Yep.
Yeah, and just to back up to that unearth, like drawing as many power cards is pretty powerful, especially if two fighters are out, 3 fighters are out. And then trace for the Undying Love. This one is pick 2 friendly destined fighters, heal one of those fighters, and push the other fighter up to 3 hexes towards the other fighter. You can only use this ability once per game. That is extremely powerful. Yes. Like you're healing and pushing someone closer into that other fighter.
And that is very similar to one of the abilities that they had in one of their power cards they had before. So like,
combined like an upgrade and
I mean, it's super good. And that, so I'm with you. Like, I think that's super, super, super powerful.
Yeah. And I just want to call out that this is the first one that we've reviewed where there are multiple Inspire conditions for the Warband. So it is some of them immediately after you give them a raise fighter or raise token. So that would be the zombie peoples. And then the destined fighters when they get their second upgrade. And remember, getting upgrades is a lot easier now because some cost 0. So again, there's still some flavor in the Warband. This is the first one that I've seen shifted away. I definitely will try them out again, but I am a little sad.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think they definitely had the most flavor to lose. Like their deck had so much flavor in it. They definitely had the most to lose.
Yeah, the way that they like the story that was in all of their cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool
stuff.
That's sad.
All right. So long, Gray Breakers. Moving on to an oldie but goodie. It was a question when we were all opening and reviewing just the base game of Embergard. How are we going to fit 9 fighters onto a board? So let's talk about Zarbag's Gits.
Let's do it.
So how are we going to fit 9 fighters onto the board?
Well, that's a great question. So there's a Squig Herder. So immediately after deploying a friendly Drizgit, who is the Squig Herder, you must place a friendly Gobbleduck and Bonecracker each in an empty hex that is not a starting hex and has no feature tokens in it adjacent to that fighter. So you could place them in no one's territory. Is it possible to place them in enemy territory? Yes. Yep. So if you go with Seal or Sundial, there is one starting and you go 5s. There is one starting hex that is adjacent to both neutral and enemy territory. So you could put a Squig in enemy territory.
Sweet.
Oh, if you do the other one,
yeah,
you can do that as well. Do the other side, you can do it as well.
That's pretty cool. So
that is cool.
My other question is,
why would you do that? I wouldn't. No. Anyway,
we've answered the question how we get 9 fighters onto the board. It's very similar to maybe previous editions. We just have a War Scroll card now. But what happens when you have 9 fighters and every warband is limited to 7 glory.
These squigs and goblins, they're barely worth it. So after the 7th friendly fighter is slain, friendly fighters have a bounty characteristic of 0.
I think that's a cool touch to keep it all.
Yeah,
there.
I like that. I like that just because it doesn't devalue any one fighter, right? So like you're not doing things like Tick Tick or whatever where he's 0 bounty or whatever.
Yeah. Like you still get glory for taking out the squigs, you still get glory for taking out the archers.
And it's a nice elegant something that doesn't happen all that often. Which is a nice, elegant answer to the problem.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
And the other thing that I like is their Inspire, because that was always a touchy one as well. Like, was it 3 glory, 4 glory? So this is immediately after your total glory points are equal to or greater than the number of friendly fighters on the battlefield. Inspire each friendly fighter. So if I'm not killing you, you better get 9 glory.
That's right. But if I have scored no glory and you kill 7 of my fighters, you best believe those last 2 fighters are going to be inspired.
Better watch out.
Oh no, it's the number. No, it's the number of fighters. So just kidding.
No, number of fighters.
I thought it was the bounty. I thought it was tied to the bounty. Dang it.
Bounty.
All right. Yep.
Glory points are equal to or greater than the number of the friendly fighters on the battlefield. You still got to score.
It's not tied to the bounty. Dang it.
Yeah.
Man, that was going to be awesome, but I misread it.
And then one of the biggest updates here too is Snurk.
Yeah.
Snurk. You better not mess with some Snurk. I love them.
I like it.
Well, it's way more digestible than his old ability. Like, he's a regular fighter. He does great damage. Yeah. He's still like is a menace, but not.
Yeah, so like he's an actual fighter. He's on 2 fury for 3 damage. If and when you get him inspired, he's 3 fury. Oh, fury. Jeez. Old habits die hard. 3 swords on 3 damage. But then he.
And 3 dodge.
3 dodges.
Yeah, the 3 dodges. It's pretty nice. It's not as great as it once was, but it is still very, very good.
I am sure some folks have some big feelings about this, but let me just be clear. The rest of the warband is going to die like wet tissue paper. Like, just let them have something fun. If you can kill them early, good on you. But it's throw them a bone.
And then this spinning instant surge action is what keeps the flavor of that warband and the flavor of that fighter alive. Use this immediately after a fighter is pushed, placed, or enters a hex adjacent to a friendly Snurk. Inflict 1 damage to that on that fighter. It's just I'm glad that flavor is there because it's such a cool model and such a fun warband. So
yeah, and that's all fighters. So now if you run next to him as one of Zarbag's gets, you take a damage too. So.
But the nice thing is that it doesn't trigger when he's pushed.
That's true. Yeah, you can't push him onto somebody and do damage. Anyway.
So what about what's this little symbol that these squigs have? I don't understand. What's that?
Yeah, so this is volley, spiteful volley. Use this immediately after
the squigs. The squigs.
Oh, they have flying. Is it the flying?
That's the flying keyword.
Why are they flying? They don't have wings.
Because they're squigs. They're all bouncing. They're all bouncing. You know that.
Boing, boing, boing. There was literally cards that say boing in the old.
Yeah. But anyway, go with the volley. Sorry, I was talking about the fly.
I thought we weren't going to go through everything on every card, but
here we
are. Use this immediately after a friendly fighter's successful attack made with a weapon with volley. Pick a different friendly fighter within 3 hexes of that fighter whose ranged weapon has volley. That fighter can immediately attack with that weapon. This ability cannot be used more than once per turn. So if you hit with one of the archers and there's another archer within 3, they can also shoot. And it doesn't have to be a shot at the same target as the original attack. It could be. But then you can't chain it to the third one.
Great. Cool. Thanks for explaining that for me. Still a lot of flavor there in that 9 fighter warband. I love it.
Yeah. And they retain scurry.
They do. So
extra move economy.
Moving on. Scurrying away from those gits. Let's go to Mollog's Mob. Trace, this is like one of your favorite warbands. What is like a highlight of a change here that you're looking forward to in 2.0?
Hold on, I got to remember. I haven't looked at these in a minute. Give me just a second.
I like that Mollog is worth 4 bounty.
You want to know what I like? I like that all of the shrooms are 3 wounds.
That is nice.
So just stat blocks.
The stat blocks on all of them are nice. Mollog should be 4 glory. I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine. If you kill him with his 7 wounds, it's good for you. It's all good. It's not going to be difficult. It's not going to be super difficult to do.
Yeah.
Maybe let me review the rune marks are always confusing because I have to remember which one's what. I like the thing that I like about the warband from a flavor perspective is the unnatural hazards ability, which is each little squig gets their own cool little thing they can do. So a natural hazard says at the start of first action step and in each battle round, you can pick one of the following abilities to apply to the end of the current battle round. Nasty critters. Enemy fighters adjacent to any friendly minions are surrounded. That's big, especially when you got a big club coming at you.
Yeah.
Tripping hazard. After an enemy fighter enters a hex adjacent to it and any friendly minions, give that fighter a stagger token. Also accuracy for a big club.
Yep.
Watch out, they bite. After an enemy fighter is pushed, placed, or enters any hex adjacent to a friendly minion for the first time, roll an attack dice. On a hammer or a crit, inflict 1 damage on that fighter. So it makes the minions little bubbles of suck, which they already kind of were.
Yep.
But the fact that you get to pick this every single turn, are they going to live every turn? No. But that's one of my favorite parts about the card.
Well, the fact that they're all 3 health now, I mean, they'll live longer than they did.
Exactly. Which has always been Mollog's Achilles heel is people just ignore him and then they just go kill the minions and then they find some kind of other way to get passive glory. And it's hard for him to, and we can't do the hallway trick anymore where I can touch both sides of the board and just run down the middle. I can't do that anymore. So there's all kinds of ways for you to get around him since the board is a little bit wider.
He doesn't have weird charge multiple times rules.
Correct. But he is still very good with...
Oh my gosh, he's so good.
He is still very, very good because he has a very consistent damage profile. And, I mean, his threat range is still really, really good. Like, I am not worried about him doing damage.
So there are 2 things on his attack profiles that I really like.
Yep.
So I like that when he inspires, his 3 damage range 1 attack gains Grievous. It doesn't go to 4 damage.
Correct.
So you can't stack more damage. He's at most going to do 4 damage on a pop, as far as we can tell so far, right?
Right.
You know, based on what we've seen, right? The only way to get extra damage in an attack action is Grievous, and you have to pick that ability. If he chooses the Grievous, then he loses the Brutal, which would ignore surroundeds and flanks.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that his range 2 attack does not have Grievous innately.
Yep.
And is only 2 damage.
And there's nothing saying that you can't give
around.
It. Yeah, you can't. There's nothing saying you can't give him Grievous on that range 2. But
But what it means is that you could drive it. You could go in, be adjacent, drive him back.
Yep.
And if he's moved
and follow up
already, then he can't follow up with a 4 damage attack anymore.
Yeah, but so my thought with that is if I charge you with a range 1 attack that's doing 3 damage or 4 damage with Grievous, and you have that one hanging wound left over. And I have a way, like if I've pushed onto you, or if I've pushed and done my attack, like not having to move again, I can drive you back, do that 3 or 4 damage, drive you back, and then the next turn I can just stand where I am and do that last 2.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of.
I'm thinking the other way though, that if you've moved already and I can come in and I can drive you back.
Correct.
You don't get to swing back
for
at
4.
4 damage.
Right. Yep.
Which is, I think, a much better experience.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
So I do have a question about the Stalagwig, though.
Sure.
Yep.
So, because he's always lurking, so when you deploy a friendly lurker, you can place that fighter in an empty hex that doesn't contain a feature token and is not a starting hex in enemy territory. Okay? But this fighter cannot be removed from the battlefield unless it is slain, pushed, or moves. So if I drive this Stalagwig back, does he go away?
So I think that the commas here are important, and I think it reads thusly. This fighter cannot be removed from the battlefield unless it is slain, comma, pushed, or moves. Oh, does he have a move characteristic?
He does not.
He does not.
But,
okay. Yeah. Cannot be removed from the battlefield unless it is slain. Pushed. I think that's a typo.
But what the thing that you can.
I think he cannot be pushed. I think he cannot be moved. And he cannot be removed from the battlefield unless it is slain. I think that's a typo. I don't think he can be pushed out. I don't know, because that cannot be removed from the battlefield unless it is slain, pushed, or moves. I think. I'm also going by the way that he used to work.
Well, we can't live in that space. So there's nothing to say. Like I mean, I'm with you, Jason. I wonder if because there's nothing on him that says that he can't be pushed. Like that does not say that.
It could say that,
but it doesn't. As it's written right now, it does not say that. Cannot be removed from the battlefield unless it is slain, pushed, or moved. Slain, or pushed, or moves. So to me, that reads you play confusion and he dies.
You can't.
No.
I don't think you can play confusion on him.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that he is slain if he is moved, if he is removed. I don't think you can play confusion on him. I think you could push him, and I think you could give him great speed, and now he's a move 1.
Right. Yeah, who knows?
I'm confused.
Jesus.
You're confused.
I'm confused. I just read it. I was like, wait a minute. So if I drive it back, is he slain? No, you're right. The comma is there, so it is not slain.
Unless it is slain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comma, pushed, or moves. So he can move if he gets
if you give him great
+1
speed or whatever.
Yeah. Upgrades. Or you play a ploy that gives him extra move.
His great speed of 1.
Yeah, that's right.
It's moving.
I mean, I kind of like it though.
It's whatever.
We just need
to. That needs
except
to be
his little
clarified.
tendrils, and
that just needs to be clarified to where it's a little cleaner to understand.
Probably. I don't know.
No, I think it's the old words getting confused with the new words. So this fighter cannot be removed from the battlefield unless it is slain. So like it could be removed if you kill it. It could be removed if you push it, and you could remove it if it moves.
Yeah, because I think the rules for removes, like push and move, are for you to remove in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it now.
Yeah, move is enter. Yeah,
but there are cards like whatever hidden path style cards where you move in place.
But you couldn't use hidden paths on him because you cannot remove him because that's not a push
unless he moves
outside of these criteria.
But hidden paths is not a move; it is a remove and drop. Yeah.
But if there was a card that says move and go here, right?
Yeah.
And a straight push will work on them because you're not removing them.
Yep.
So I got it. Cool.
You can sidestep the slide squig now. Spicy.
All right.
All right, who's next?
Pushing ahead to the Sepulchral Guard.
Nice.
Jared, any spicy hotness here?
Yeah. So, Arise, pick your leader to use this ability if they have no charge tokens. Okay. Pick up to 2 slain friendly fighters, raise those fighters, and place them on different empty starting hexes in your territory and inflict 1 damage on those fighters. So, you can pull up 2 at a time. However, everybody but the Sepulchral Warden is now 2 health. So by inflicting 1 damage, you've now put any of these raised fighters on 1 health. But raised fighters are worth 0 bounty. So it's cool that you can bring 2 back at once. And
their inspired condition is raised, so
yeah. I'm not wild about them being vulnerable when they come back, but
I mean, and then but you're not losing anything. You can't get farmed anymore, so it's not as big of a loss, right? It doesn't. Yeah. You feel less bad about it. Like they got the glory for it the first time, whatever. It doesn't matter now.
Yep.
And now you get to kind of leverage the weight of pulling up a bunch of valueless fighters to just do whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, and everything else on the War Scroll are just basically cards that were in their deck. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to getting them out there and giving them a spin. They're gonna play, I think, a little bit differently than they had in the past. But
yeah, I agree.
They're a take and hold warband, and I'm excited to try them out. All right, on to Farce Riders, something that we all know and love.
They still shoot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You mean Emberwatch 1.0?
1.0, yeah. Immediately, so their inspired condition is immediately after friendly fighters, a second attack in the same phase, and a different weapon was picked for those attacks. Inspire that fighter. So we've seen that before. With no upgrades, you just got to shoot and slice and dice.
Yep.
Anything else that stands out for you?
5 wounds each.
So they are 5 wounds each. They all go to. Oh no, they both. Yeah, so they're 1 shield.
Yep.
On the Inspire side. So this Vanguard ability is kind of cool. So use this immediately after an inspired, vulnerable, friendly fighter in enemy territory used a core ability. So they got to be vulnerable, so it's niche. But uninspire and heal that fighter for the rest of the battle round. This fighter cannot be healed or inspired. So you wouldn't be able to do it multiple times, but it might be like a last-ditch effort, keep them alive, like keep them from being pinged one last time. Or pick an enemy fighter within 3 hexes of this fighter and roll a number of attack dice equal to the battle round. On a roll of a hammer or a crit, inflict 1 damage on that fighter. So you could also fish for a last-minute ping. And if it's the 3rd battle round, the chances of you rolling a hammer or a crit on 3 dice are pretty good. It's not 100%, but it's pretty good.
I just want to call attention to, like, the fact that they're really mobile. Like, there's a lot of really good stuff on their War Scroll that allows them to be very mobile. So a lot of times these are things that Jared used to do all the time. Like, make a fighter move again, or push a bunch of fighters all at one time, like Rangers Advance or whatever. Like, that these are just now always in your hand. Like, you can always use them. Whereas before, you had to have that card in hand for it to be valuable. Now it's just the Ranger Elite, for example. Use this immediately after your action step. Push a friendly fighter a number of hexes equal to the battle round. Those pushes must end in enemy territory. This can only be used once per game. So, like, you can sit on this till the end of the game, and you have Conquest in your hand. Like, boom, done. Like,
and it's push each,
Yeah, all of
So
them.
you get all of them.
Yeah. Super good.
Yeah. And if you start in enemy territory, that's still fine. As long as the push ends in enemy territory.
That's right. You can go backwards. It's just a lot of fun move utility that makes them a lot more mobile out of the box than they were before.
Cool.
Nice.
I'm just going to play the new one. I'm just going to play the Embergard. That leads us to another Stormcast redo, which is the Iron Soul Condemners.
All right.
Bring me the
I have to say, I might have to get mine painted since my favorite warband that inspires on crits is not organized play legal anymore. I might actually have to paint up my Iron Souls Condemners so that I have a warband that inspires on crits.
Sorry for you.
Yeah, it's okay. It's if only I had lots of options of warbands to choose from here in the second edition.
They may cycle in next time. They talked about the warbands
there's a
getting
chance
their
they'll
own.
come back. But
I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
So they inspire on crits. That's why you want to bring these guys out.
Well, and also it's produce. I mean, we had a lot of fun with them when they were originally released. They, were not quite like anything else.
They were not good, but they were fun.
That's fair.
There were some builds that were decent with them. But
yeah. So they have a new warband-wide ability, Bulwark Against the Dark. Friendly fighters with no move and or charge tokens cannot be driven back. So if you come in and swing on them, I guess you're going to take a hit back without me moving. So.
Well, and let's also talk about the fact that this makes them a very good flex hold, because you can use pushes to get them onto objectives and then just sit there.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot to be seen, right? So we don't have any reps in with them yet, and very few reps in 2.0. But 3 fighters still scares me, even though all these guys are at 5 wounds. Now, if you do get lucky enough to get them inspired, 2 of them, Iron Soul and Taven, go to 2 shields, which is really good in the new edition. And the fact that you don't get driven back if you have no move or charge tokens.
And they're hella accurate too. Jeez.
Yeah, but they only all have 1 attack. They feel very vanilla to me, with only three things on their war scroll. So I'm glad they're here. I'm glad people can use their models with this free PDF, but I don't know. You can paint them up. I'm probably not bringing mine out. So.
I probably won't paint them up. There's too much stuff. I mean, the Jaws of Itzel are coming sometime, and lizards.
All right, on to Skinnerkin, because I really enjoyed them at the end of the version 1. How do they cut it in version 2?
I see you.
Ooh, nice. So I think, it's a lot of the same. We've got some noble chefs that are trying to serve a feast for their king, and, on the hunt, slicing off the choicest cuts of meat. So immediately after you gain your 3rd or subsequent haunch token, inspire each friendly fighter. So immediately after you gain your 3rd or subsequent haunch. So it's only the gain. It doesn't say you have to have them. So I'm thinking that you can gain and spend them. Oh, you can spend haunch tokens, Jared, you say? Yes, you can. So they've got all these cool abilities similar to the cards that they used to have. Calloused Hands, use this immediately after a friendly fighter is picked as the target of an attack. Discard a haunch token. Save rolls made for that attack count as having more critical successes than the attack roll for the purposes of the Standfast ability only. You can use this ability once per turn. So I just get to reduce the damage by 1 and not be driven back by spending a haunch counter.
Cool.
Seems pretty good. And then crit fillet, gain it. So use it immediately after picking a friendly fighter to attack. That friendly fighter's melee weapons have crit fillet for that attack. You can use this ability once per turn. Fillet is if the attack was successful, gain a haunch token. The 2 chefs also gain haunch tokens on successful attacks. So we're back to the chance for all the
Yeah,
haunch
but I
tokens.
think the thing to call out here is that fillet is a weapon ability,
Yep.
right? So you have to select that. So you're not, if you can't do Grievous and that,
And fillet. Yep.
but
Yeah.
Perfect Cut is a surge ability, much
Yep.
like the other one. So you can do Perfect Cut and fillet. It's just fillet is blocking something else like that you may have given them.
Yeah, Grievous or cleave or brutal or whatever.
Yeah.
Grasping, grapple, whatever it is. Yeah. But I mean, it's just some noble chefs trying to serve up a feast.
I had my brain. I haven't actually heard probably the last 30 seconds of what y'all said because I just kept thinking about how I could paint on Grisla's her chef's apron, paint it white, and then put the crit fillet symbol on it. But it looks like Chick-fil-A, but it's in the red, like red.
Oh, nice.
Crit fillet.
Nice.
Oh my god.
Crit fillet. I like it.
Be
I'd be impressed.
Yeah, I think a lot of the flavor did carry over to this warband. So I think it is one that's going to stay in my carry box to try out and play. I'm kind of excited about it because I like them, and it's one of the few of these redone that is a strike warband. So
yeah, Jared, I think you should.
Yep.
I think you should take these out.
Okay,
I think you should try these. I think these will fit
that'd be fun.
the counter punchy aggressive build that you like a lot.
Chargy wargy.
Well,
right.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
No, go.
No, you're good. I said my piece. No, I'm just trying to think how to paint Chick-fil-A on my
Chick-fil-A. Well, I mean, just moving on to the next one, which is another strike warband, and that's Spike Claw Swarm.
Nice.
Oh man, they named him Spike Claw. He's not. Scritch is the greatest. Yes.
Well, he is Scritch Spike Claw. If you go to the back side of
I gotta go to the back side. Okay, cool.
It's called Scritch Spike Claw. Yeah. The name on the fighter. Yeah, I know, right?
I was very nervous.
So there's a caveat to this warband, and I think it's worth calling out, is that the swarm ability, pick a friendly leader to use this ability, pick a slain minion. We're not the only ones that have noticed this. I think basically anybody that has listened to this episode that has read anything on the internet about Warhammer Underworlds lately has noticed this. There are no fighters that have the minion rune mark. So
clearly a typo. Don't lose it.
Gotta,
Just play it.
I think if you're playing, I think if you're playing with your buddies, lurking, hungering, and festering all have the minion rune mark.
Yeah, the only one that
we can probably count on Games Workshop to release an update.
The only one that would not would probably be Kirk. So
Kirk should not have it.
Everybody else,
I would agree.
Just play them like they have it.
And we're only saying this because of the way that they played in the previous edition.
Yeah. That common sense would say that those three should have minion rune marks, specifically with the swarm. It does carry over from version 1 and how the raise mechanic worked for them. The beauty here is that this is a free PDF download.
It is a free PDF.
And then they could just update it and you're not out anything. It's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'd be okay.
Great. You know what else is okay?
What?
Lurking, hungering, and festering all having 3 health.
Correct.
Yeah, it does seem that in version 2.0 we're getting more health, huh?
I like it.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I
think for me, and we have, I think other than the one game where the Ember Watch just did not miss and I was killing Zicket stuff over and over and over again, is that you just get to play with your toys for longer.
Yep.
Between reduced damage generally across the board and increased health generally across the board, you just get more time to play with your toys in a given match.
Which gives you more
appreciate.
opportunities to actually come back and pull something out of your.
Well, I think it has to. I agree with both those statements, but I also think it has to do with the fact that crit deaths aren't.
Yeah,
what
dice
they
are
used to be.
normalized. The dice are much more normalized than they were.
Yeah.
So
you're probably going to get more attacks through.
Yep. Which
So you gotta have more health and less damage.
exactly.
It's
What I was going to say.
yeah, I like
Cool,
it.
cool beans.
Glad we're on the same page.
Yep,
Yep. Well, let's just skitter away to the next one.
Sounds good.
nice.
Thorns of the Briar Queen. And this one here, I mean, so my thorns have only been on the table once. It was, I don't even remember when. It was like in the middle where they hadn't been updated and they were terrible. So my painted warband did make it. But I don't know if they're coming out with this, and I'm sure I'll be proven wrong by some bright individual. But
Yeah.
what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, they stand as a take and hold. There've been some changes, but I mean, defensively, like every fighter has 2 defense dice, which seems pretty good. And then they all inspire at the start of your turn. We inspire each friendly fighter adjacent to any enemy fighters. So if you got to survive a round or you got to push next to somebody before your turn starts or anything, but you can get that inspire. The inspire is generally going to give them more accuracy, which is always nice. What they do have going for them is Varklov's Soul Warden ability. You can use this ability once per battle round. Push up to 2 friendly minions. Push those 2 fighters up to 2 hexes. You can give each of those fighters a charge token. I think that helps with the ability or the rule that says that you can take actions while having a charge token as long as all of the other fighters in the warband have a charge token. And then it also keys into the Wave of Terror. While a friendly fighter targets an enemy fighter that is adjacent to a different friendly fighter with any charge tokens, that target is surrounded. So you get some extra accuracy if you're adjacent, if you have a flanked fighter with a charge token.
Yeah, maybe I'm just burnt out of this style of play because they kind of played the same way forever. The cool thing that I think on the war scroll is the Stare of Death, where it says use this power in your power step, pick an enemy fighter within 2 hexes of a friendly fighter. That fighter cannot charge in the next turn. You can only use that once per game. I think that's really cool that you can block a charge.
Well, that's very akin to the one that they had in their power deck before, which was uninspire somebody. Like you just say, boom, uninspire.
Maddening Cackle.
Yeah.
That thing was maddening.
It was awful. I will say that I think I am more excited to play this version of Thorns of the Briar Queen than I am the previous version that we got at the end of Underworlds 1.
Fair.
I think the stat changes combined with just the always available ploys and then all the stuff that you get in your 2 decks that you pick from. I think there's a lot of options there. So I'm excited for those too.
Cool.
Plus glowy ghosts are fun to play, to paint and play with.
It's true.
Yeah, right. And last but not least, we move on to Sareni's Razors. Razors. Something Razors.
Somebody's razors.
And, this is the squid coming back with 4 wounds and 2 bounty. He's worth more, or she, whatever it is. I don't know what it classifies as. But it's more than an actual fighter. So it's kind of cool to see like a 4/4 and then it's 2/2, 2/1.
This warband has always been misnamed, and it should be Stephanere's
Razors. I agree. It really is Stephanere's warband.
And the Hammertide continues.
And it's simplified. Draw a straight line from Sareni's hex in any direction. The first time this line crosses an enemy fighter, inflict 1 damage on that enemy fighter and give that fighter a stagger token. The line immediately ends if it crosses a blocked hex.
Don't pick up. You won't hit anything. So just make sure it's the direction on the board.
Yeah. Direction. A straight line towards an enemy fighter. It kind of eliminates, like it opens up the lanes, which I think is probably the designers taking into account the fact that you can't like hallway people anymore and can't do the offset to force like awful lanes. Like if you wanted to, you could just Hammertide every action. It's not going to do you any good because you're doing 1 damage at a time and all of your other fighters are just sitting there. But it is a thing you could do.
Any way I want. As long as it's a straight line.
As long as it's
Draw a straight line from Sereni's Hex in any direction.
It definitely opens up because, before it was...
I don't think direction has a...
Straight down,
definition.
left, right, and then diagonals. Now I could draw a line to kind of get those hexes that are lost in the diagonals.
Correct.
Because you're just drawing a line to a fighter.
Yeah, you're drawing. Imagine a laser pointer. Like you're just doing a line laser pointer.
Yep. Get your infinity laser pointer out.
There you go. If that touches any part, which it's gonna, it's fine.
Yep. You'll get there.
Well, you better be using those blocked hexes.
That's right. Use the dials/gears board. Eventually, the community will land on a name for that. I've heard enough chatter. I think that we've secured 5s and 9s, but I don't think we've secured board names yet.
Side A, side B.
We'll figure it out.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
So that is, and I am excited to get them on the board. I played, I think, only a few games with them. I think that there still is some depth there, some flavor, if you will.
I get it.
So that'll lead us to the Grand Alliance Warbands.
I think we should take a break.
Do you think? Why?
I think so. I think we should take a break.
Okay. Time out. We'll be right back.
And we're back, and it is time to talk about these free Grand Alliance War Scrolls and Warbands that we were given. So we're going to keep it light. I think Jason and I are each going to pick our favorite War Scroll. And then we'll just talk about a handful of the Warbands that we're excited to see. Notably missing are the 16 as of yet unreleased Warbands. But this gives you the opportunity to basically play with anything in your collection.
Yeah, and that, bam, hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I can, because I think, change is difficult for everyone. And when things were first announced, I was a little bit salty that, I have 58 warbands that are all painted. And the real rub for me that was my choice is most of them are commission painted. So there's a lot of money sitting in my cabinet that I love and I treasure. But I was going to be a little sad if I could not utilize those models in Underworlds because I don't play a lot of the other games. So the fact that there is even something that allows me to utilize them is fantastic. And what's even better is it's just free. Like, here it is. And I have to keep telling myself that it's okay that all that other stuff is gone. Like, we're in a new game. Like, it is a new game with a war scroll, and there is enough flavor in these war scrolls to play one of those factions. May it be the best? May it be the most optimized? No. And will it, definitely bring all of that flavor through that used to be? No, but it is okay. And I can still take whatever warband that I want from my collection and go have some fun with my friends. And our group responded a little differently, right?
Yeah, our local play group has responded extremely positively. Like, they're already calling out warbands and war scrolls that they're excited to bring on our local nights. And we talked about them. Anybody that wants to prep for an event, we'll go into event prep mode like we did for Nova. Anybody, if we're going to host a local tournament, then we'll play tournament stuff. But if it's anything like it's been for us in the past, we'll host a tournament and everybody goes hard and we try to play the best choice that we can when it comes to warband, and we'll do the same thing, pick the best warband, the best deck pairing that we can, that we think has the best chance to win this local tournament. But the next week we're all bringing out the jank again because we just enjoy hanging out and playing this game together. And I think that is a thing that can really be focused on. And this is a way to like rebuild a community. So if you have people that have played, or people that own these models from Age of Sigmar or whatever, you can say, listen, you don't have to bring anything. Like, I've got cards, I've got dice, I've got a board. Like, you just show up with your chosen axes or with your Wormspat or with whatever it is that you have that you already own, and I can teach you how to play this awesome game. And then if they get hooked, great. You probably have another person in your community. And if they feel like the game isn't for them, I think they're going to be able to make that decision with these cards.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're going to be required to play an organized play legal warband in order to decide whether they're going to like this game or not.
And it's easy to switch up too, right? So like,
yeah,
it's almost like you have a Rivals war scroll.
Yeah.
It's like, here, anything in this thing, you don't even have to change your war scroll. It's there. You know those rules. You can play a different deck or try different characters. It just like, yeah, it's not meant for us playing in the large tournaments. It's meant just to have the stuff. And I couldn't be more thankful for it. And I'm excited. I'm excited for Grand Alliance Order Crusaders.
Yeah? What about Grand Alliance Order Crusaders has you excited, Jason?
Because I really want to use the Defender. I want to use this power in my power step, pick a friendly fighter holding a treasure token until the end of the turn. That fighter's save characteristic is 3 dodges. It can only be used once per game, but I just I don't know. I envision like some really small character, like just going 3 dodges. Like, it'd just be fun for me. Like, what the hell is what is the name of the kitty? The kitty with the wild hunt.
Legane.
Yep. 3 dodges.
Done. And then if for whatever reason you need him on that treasure token and they get through your defense, then you can just pop Reclaimed Ground. Or I guess you would have to pop both because it's not a reaction. But Reclaimed Ground is another great one. You basically get the can't be driven back part of Stand Fast. So you're not reducing the damage, but you count as having more crits than the save roll for the purposes of drive back and overrun. So your opponent can't use overrun and they can't drive you back. So, yeah. And then until the end of the next turn, friendly fighters cannot be driven back or pushed. So like you've got 3 opportunities there whenever you want at the most opportune moment to stay on the treasure token. And then the Pioneers, like when immediately after a friendly fighter finishes a move within 1 hex of a treasure token, you can push that fighter 1 hex. That push must end on a treasure. Like you get a free duelist or duelist speed or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's fun.
It's fun. It's fun, and it's not going to work for every single one of these warbands. Like the Blade Coven, Aaron and I they're going to struggle with this one. Like they are, right? But because you got to hold treasure tokens in enemy territory to inspire. But you inspire the entire warband. So I really want to play. It's been a long time since I had chosen axes. So I just want to play my chosen axes again. It's one of the warbands that I've painted myself.
That's right.
They're fun. They've been on the back burner for a long time.
They start at move 3. It's better than they used to. Right? Didn't they start at move 2?
Yeah, they were 2 before.
Yeah.
And they still had it like...
Fuel Grimnir doesn't go to 5 wounds anymore, 5 health, but I mean, he's whacking for...
Hitting for 3.
Hammers for 3 damage when he's inspired.
He's still hitting for 3 right out the gate, so...
Yeah. I like it. Well, for me, I don't remember the name of it. There it is. I am looking forward to toying around with the Grand Alliance Death Dark Majesty War Scroll. So Inspire, if an enemy fighter is slain while a Locust of Shyish ability is persisting, inspire a number of friendly fighters equal to that enemy fighter's bounty characteristic. So it's a little bit aggro-y in that regard, a little strike-ish. But the Locus of Shyish is roll 3 attack dice. If the roll contains one of the results on the Locus of Shyish table, immediately use the relevant ability. That ability persists until the end of the battle round. If the roll contains any crits, you can replace each crit with another symbol of your choice. The same fighter cannot be picked to be affected by a Locus of Shyish ability more than once per battle round. This is a core ability, so it is something that you're going to have to use an action for. But the 4 abilities that are available, they're all on doubles. So out of 3 dice, if you roll 2 swords, you get to pick a friendly fighter. That fighter's melee weapons have crit Grievous. On 2 hammers, you get to pick a friendly fighter. That fighter has +1 move. On 2 flanked results, pick an enemy fighter. That fighter's weapons have -1 attack dice. So pick an enemy fighter. And then on 2 surrounded results, pick an enemy fighter. That fighter has -1 move. I just think it's fun, and it's like a little wacky, and like you're being blown around by the winds of magic.
Yeah.
And I mean, is it the best? I don't think so, but it's fun.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. And then you just pick, I don't know what you pick. I mean, probably for me, Velmorn. Why not?
Probably for you, Velmorn.
Yeah. Or Lady Harrows, right? Dreepers, Wraith Creepers, pick some stat blocks. Feeling that it doesn't matter. But yeah, and I think it's worth addressing the fact that Warcom said whatever. I don't have it verbatim.
Every warband will receive rules in the new edition. Is kind of how it was put.
Yeah. I think it was more specific than that, and I think it could have been interpreted that each warband was going to get its own unique war scroll. But this is also a brand new addition to a game. Full rules rewrite. And if I think back to the beginning of Shadespire, I mean, for what, 3 months there were 2 warbands?
No, there was 4. They released Iron Souls, Iron Jaws, and Embergard quickly after. Yeah.
Yeah, but so there were 4. And for organized play, as of today, release day, you have 15 warbands that you can play for organized play. Like, that's already more than, that's almost over 3 times as many warbands as were available when Shadespire launched.
Well, that would be 2 seasons. So it was 8 warbands per season for the whole year, right?
Yeah.
It was 8. Yeah. So you're one shy of 2 years worth of content.
Yeah. And you also have these rules that you can use to just play with your models.
Yeah.
I think this is what you use when you want to have fun. I think this is what you want to use when you just want to hang out with your buddies. This becomes beer and pretzels underworlds. I'm going
to approach it like rivals. Like this.
Yeah.
If someone says, "Hey, I'm going to be at the shop. I want to have a new teaching game," I'm going to grab one of these for myself. Yeah. And that way I can still play the game and have fun, and they can play whatever they want. Right.
Right.
I just think I think it's really cool intro. And
or they show up with something. They say, "Hey, I loved Chosen Axes in Shadespire. Can I still use them?" Yes, you can. Here, I have this thing that I printed out. This is how you're going to play them. Here's a deck of cards. And you let's do a classic. I'll run Iron Skulls Boys into your Chosen Axes. And now you've got Dwarves versus Orcs. And you pick whatever. Also, Haka is the man. Basha, not so much. But Haka on 4 swords. Yes, please. Thank you. Justice for Haka. Finally. Yeah. So I don't think we need to belabor it. I don't think that we need to overdo it. I understand completely if you feel underwhelmed by this result. I think that's valid. I would just encourage you to not let it ruin what is lining up to be an excellent second edition of a game that we already love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Any
other standouts?
So, I'd be remiss to not call out Chaos Slayers. Okay. So the Inspire is I have to take somebody out with a melee weapon, and then I can inspire the number of fighters equal to the bounty characteristic. Okay. Got it. Check.
Inspire a number of friendly fighters equal to the bounty character.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bounty for bounty.
Nope. If you got three, if you have three, or in Moloch's case 4, I can inspire 4 fighters.
Okay.
So that is 4 Godsworn Hunt fighters that are now inspired.
Yep.
Plus they get a bonus attack dice. There's a way to double charge with it, like a reckless rage. Like this is cool stuff. Like I don't know. Like I again, one of my other favorite Chaos Warbands is Plague Pack. I don't know if they exactly play the way that I think they should in my mind because of previous editions, but I can fit this stuff into there too with stagger tokens and inspiring by holding by having less enemy fighters in neutral territory. Like that is it's kind of the way they used to play, sort of. I don't know. It's just, I like it. I am saddened myself to not have some of these warbands with a full war scroll, but
sure,
just get after it. How did you look at the destruction one? Like how's Mad Mob going to play? Is there any play there for fun?
I'm sure there is. What are our options? We probably want brutal
or cunning.
Immediately after a friendly fighter attacks an enemy fighter that is flanked or surrounded, inspire the attacker and any friendly fighters adjacent to the target. We'll get the boss. At the start of the first action step in each battle round, you can push each friendly fighter 1 hex. That push must end closer or adjacent to an enemy leader. Well, that's Headcracker's ability, right? Yeah. Like Tooftag's ability, but you get to push all of your fighters now. And then add this, you get a use this immediately after an enemy fighter has charged. Pick a friendly fighter adjacent to that enemy fighter. That friendly fighter can attack, but that attack must target the enemy fighter that charged. So as long as you don't get driven back on the charge, you can immediately make an out of action step attack against an opponent. Like that's having a good time, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the card for Iron Skull's boys?
So I think it was.
Out of attack. +1 dice. I think it's there. Headcracker's stats are there. Wallop just gains straight Grievous, so he's not tied to the number of wounds anymore. Tooftagga still has crit Grievous on 4 dice. Daco has a melee weapon.
Oh, nice. He just pulled that out of his arrow.
Yeah, he's stabbing somebody with an arrow, Legolas style.
Oh, it's cool. I appreciate it. So
I think it's tough. I think it's easy to read what Warcom said, and I'm not pulling it up right now because it may be like feel cut and dry, that if they may have said straight out that every warband was going to get fighter cards in a war scroll and unique, but the thing that I tell my children often, that we cannot go back. We are in the now. So let's make the best of the now that we have. And email whunderworlds@gwplc.com for any feedback that you have for the design team.
With that, we should take a break. And then I think we should come back and talk about this tournament companion
Let's do it.
And we're back for our last segment of this show. And it's just to talk about a quick document that came out with all these downloads, the Warhammer Underworlds Tournament Companion. And I don't think we'll really go through in depth every single section that's here, but I just want to say, one, thank you. And two, it is very nice to get an official document that helps newer players design and attend tournaments. Like,
yep.
Again, we might attend tournaments that already have a tournament packet, but the goal here is to put a foundation in place. Is there anything on this document that stands out to you, Jared, that you want to touch on?
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that they did here that wasn't done in the previous organized play pack is that they have written rules for conceding. So this is the GW delivered rules. So they do call out that conceding goes against the spirit in which Warhammer Underworlds is played. These situations must be catered for, as conceding can affect the outcome in tournament standings for a player wishing to play their games and matches to their conclusion. So I think the ideal, Games Workshop is a miniatures company first. I feel like the game designers are gamers first. And so they really just want to play games out to their conclusion. So the spirit of Warhammer Underworlds is that you would play a game out to its conclusion. They do concede, wordplay fully intended, that sometimes that isn't the best case. If you're in a best of 3 and time is tight, like it was at Nova last year, sometimes the concession is what makes sense to try to get the match to its natural conclusion. But they have rules in there for what to do. So if a player wishes to concede, both players raise their hand to call a judge. Judge determines the game state, and then the players can discuss the endpoint of the game rather than using the fixed outcomes mentioned below, so that you can decide as players what you want to do, or you can do the following. So, if a player concedes a game, their opponent is declared the winner. Their opponent is awarded all of the glory points they have achieved so far. Their opponent is awarded the total value of the enemy's enemy warband's bounty characteristics, and then that's it. So, you don't get to score extra cards, you don't get to take extra turns. Now, I mean, they do say, that players can discuss the endpoint of the game. So, if they want to walk it through or whatever, they can do that. There's that opportunity. But they've also given rules for what to do if the players can't agree on what to do, which I think it's helpful. I think it's good just to have it written. Even if I disagree with the way they've written it, having it written is better than not.
Yeah, no, it's a guideline, right?
Yep.
Even how you rank players, how you pair players,
Yeah.
If you're not using an app, some of that stuff's hard to come up with. Like, where do I even start if I want to be a new tournament organizer? There are some things of note in here that I love the fact that there's a conceding guideline, right? It is pretty cool. The bounty characteristic coming into play as well. But it doesn't call out if we're still playing best of 3.
It does not.
It does not give you a recommendation on that. It just says a game of Warhammer Underworld should take about 60 to 75 minutes. I don't know if I'm playing a best of 3 in 60 to 75 minutes, but
no. Yeah, well, I think that's a game. A game of Warhammer Underworld should take approximately 60 to 75 minutes, which leads me to believe that we will see longer round times if the organized play pattern, recommended play pattern, is best of 3. In that, and I thought you were going to speak out on this, because this is actually a thing for you, is the what to do at end of match, what to do when time is called. So if your game is still ongoing when time is called, they have pretty hard and fast, well-defined rules for what to do. So, you call a judge, the judge confirms whose turn it is. The player must then complete their turn, their action step, or their power step. After that turn has been completed, the game ends, and the players compare their total glory points. The player with the most glory points wins. So if you're in the middle of a turn, you play that turn, you're done. You score whatever glory you have, and that's it. If it's called between turns or between battle rounds and no player is currently taking a turn, the game just ends. So they stop playing, raise their hands, call a judge. The players compare their total glory points. The player with the most glory points wins. So well-defined windows. What window are you in? What you do during that window if time has been called.
Yeah,
which is great.
And more so, I think that this companion and having something like that defined out is what, if you're going to run a tournament, like you can either copy that verbatim, but make sure that you define that in your end of match process. So it is very clear to the players, whether they read the packet or not, this is what's going to happen. Because there's some of that that I don't like the fact that someone could have 3 activations and someone could have 2 activations.
Yeah.
But define it. It's there. The other note too, that I'm going to call out now too, is under Tools of War, it says a valid Rivals or Nemesis deck and copies of their deck list for the tournament organizers and opponents to inspect. Are they saying that deck lists are confirmed open information now?
Well, it doesn't say when opponents inspect.
Oh.
But, I mean, there is an argument to be made that this is saying that you play with open deck lists.
How do you feel about that?
I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of like it.
No,
I think
you don't. Why?
I know, right? So I think it makes the game more accessible. I think that it helps me to know that I have played the best game that I can because my opponent is able to play the best game that they can. That I'm not going to win with some janky gotcha. I may actually still win with some janky gotcha, so I'll get there. But that I'm going to win based on my understanding of how the game works, my understanding of how my opponent's warband works, and now my understanding of what I think that their deck list is trying to do. And so I say what I think their deck list is trying to do. Just because I can look at a deck list doesn't mean that I'm going to immediately be able to call out any janky gotchas that are in there. It also doesn't mean that my opponent is going to be able to do that. But it opens up this opportunity for my opponent to play their best game against me and know that I have played against my opponent's best game. And I can't think of a better means of skill expression than beating my opponent when they have played at their best with the most knowledge that they can have.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think because I have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and this like massive cranium to jam all this information in, I've studied it. I know it all. I should just win based on the fact I have more time and knowledge than you. And here I just show up to the table and I'm giving you away all my secrets. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, go play chess.
Wait a minute. There's no hidden information in chess?
No.
Oh. No, like
I mean, unless you create like some new novel opening, I guess, or your mid-game sequence that nobody's ever played before.
I think what it does do is I understand that the gotchas are not there, and I'm all for those not being in there. As someone that played Denial or, a card to keep the opponent out of my territory, it does hurt a little bit because like now it's not a surprise. But I agree with you 110% that sharing that information makes for an easier game and probably like less arguments because you knew what was coming. Or you want to talk about skill expression, it's still there because you're still going to have me who spends no time playing your warband and your cards, and you hand me the deck list and I'm like, great, there you go. Wonderful. Yeah. I'm so worried about myself.
Yeah, exactly. Like just because I show you my deck list doesn't mean that like I'm giving away all of my secrets. because of exactly what you just said. Oh, great. Thanks for this deck list. I recognize 40% of the names of these cards. The other 60%, I have no idea what they do. Great. So now, like, the people that are, like, whose skill expression does come from learning the game and knowing the card library better than their opponents can still do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's still going to happen. I think it just squishes the playing field, and it lowers the floor for entry into organized tournament play, which is ultimately the goal.
And it adds power into, I know it's not called mulligan, but I'm going to call it a mulligan, right? Where the mulligan was redraw, but the mulligan was open information in previous editions, where I had to lay the cards out and you got to see. And that was like really vital information when that happened. You're like, what objectives, what ploys, like, what are you giving away? Okay, this is your play, right? So now I get that up front, and now the game is played with that prior knowledge and not what I know you're not going to have. Like, now you could be digging for anything in that deck. I actually like that skill expression going back into that decision to redraw and not giving you the open information, because I've already given it to you in my deck list.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I think that, again, thank you, GW, for putting out just a guideline, like a companion that allows us to have a standard tournament, or kind of gives us rails to work around. Doesn't really say it has to be this way, but just helping us out as tournament organizers and as players to what to expect going into a tournament. And hopefully this allows for there to be more tournaments out there now that 2.0 is in the world.
I like it. One more thing. In the organized play formats document, when it talks about boards that you can use in organized play scenarios, the game boards from the following seasons, including alternate art game boards found in organized play packs, can be used in the Rivals/Nemesis format, Warhammer Underworld's Embergard. So organized play packs, I guess, are going to come with alternate art game boards, which is pretty flippin' sweet.
Missed that one. That's in the organized play format.
Organized play document, yeah.
Including ultimate art game boards. Look at that.
How exciting is that? I'm stoked.
Well, and that's cool. Like, in the little that I have played of Loricana, like, the alternate art stuff is sweet. We always used to clamor for the alternate art fighter cards. So that'll be cool. That is the exact same thing. Like, there is no play advantage to having it, except it's going to look cool.
It's going to look baller.
Yeah. And what is even better too, like, you get one of those boards and then you paint your bases to match that board.
Perfect.
That's more expression.
Also, it gives you an opportunity to get other people into the game, because now you have two boards.
Oh, look at that. I don't give away stuff, so it's fine.
I know, but you have two so you could, like, host. You yourself could host, like, three other people to play the game. Yeah. And you're the only one that has to own the boards. And actually, if you own one Embergard box and two other Warbands and one alternate art board and extra dice, okay, the list is getting a little long. But, like, your opponents, like, don't have to bring anything, because their box comes with 4 Rivals decks.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing that this document does say, that this is, again, the organized play formats. It refers to it as a season, and to my knowledge, that's the first time that we've heard Embergard referred to as a season. Like, in all the other documents or videos or whatnot, they refer to it as just this. This is the version. So maybe we will continue to follow the calendar that is seasons, but. There's just a ton of content. So in reflection on all 3 of our segments here, like, it's a ton of content, to your point. Like, today, as we record this, is day 1 of Embergard, and we have more content than we could ever digest
Yeah. Yep.
So with that now, let's end this segment and move into the outro.
And we're back, and that wraps up the 74th episode of the Battle Mallet podcast. As always, we want to say thank you for taking the time to listen. We would appreciate any likes and subscribes that you can give, reviews that you can give. It is the best way to get our content out to the masses beyond word of mouth. If you are interested in following us on the socials, we are Battle Mallet HQ on X, Instagram, and I am pretending like Blue Sky matters, so we have an account there now. We are the Battle Mallet Podcast on Facebook. Our website is battle-mallet.com, and you can find links to everything that we have there. That includes the blog, the podcast, and the Nemesis library, and links to all of our social channels. I think that's really it. Everyone can find Trace at Al Capone. Trace, I'm going to let you spell that because I'm going to mess it up if I do it.
It's ALCPWND.
Yep, there it is. I always want to add an E in the end, and it's not there. It's pwned. The proper spelling of pwned. Al Capone, which is a great handle, by the way. That's all we've got for tonight. We are three dads who cannot get it together. This is Jared signing out.
This is Trey signing out.
And I'm Jason Tableman Murray. Finally, get the hell out of here.
Peace.
Go Bills.
The Battle Mallet podcast is protected under the Creative Commons license. If you have further questions as to its use, you can find more information via links on podcast.battle-mallet.com. Music by Anno Domini Beats.
Are we going to play Mustard instead?
I hate you so much.
You relish the moment.
Mayonnaise, a lot of puns in this episode.
Oh, that was good.